HOA president tried to get me arrested. Didn't realize I am the community manager. I still remember the look on her face when the police turned to her instead of me. Shock. Fear. And for the first time, silence. That smug blonde woman who used to patrol the neighborhood like a self-appointed queen, clipboard in one hand, rules in the other, suddenly realized her crown had crumbled. Her name was Karen Holt. Mid-50s, always dressed like she was heading to a country club brunch. She believed she owned Pineview Ridge, not just lived in it. And for months, she made my life, and the lives of nearly everyone in the community, miserable. But by the time the truth came out, by the time she finally realized who I really was, it was too late. You see, I didn't just live in Pineview Ridge. I was the one managing it. The community manager overseeing multiple HOAs in the region. Karen thought I was just another quiet homeowner she could push around, and that mistake cost her everything. But I'm getting ahead of myself. When I first moved in, I wasn't looking for trouble. After years in property management, I'd seen every type of HOA president imaginable. The control freaks, the lazy ones, the well-meaning but clueless. But Karen, she was something different. She was power-hungry in a way that bordered on obsession. From the moment she introduced herself, I could feel her sizing me up. She showed up the morning after I moved in, not with cookies or a welcome note, but with a thick packet of community guidelines and a sharp smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm Karen Holt, president of the Pineview Ridge Homeowners Association," she said, enunciating every syllable like it was a title she earned through war. "We take pride in maintaining a certain standard here." I thanked her, said I'd read the rules, and went back to unloading boxes. But she lingered, scanning my truck, my yard, even the color of my curtains. Then she said something that stuck with me. "People don't last long here if they don't fit in." That was her warning, though I didn't recognize it as one then. For a few weeks, things were fine. I kept to myself, maintained my yard, paid dues on time. But Karen had a way of making her presence impossible to ignore. Every morning, she'd do her infamous inspection walks. Clip-clop down the sidewalks in her white sneakers, noting down violations. Trash cans out a minute too early. A hose visible from the street. A flower bed that didn't align with community aesthetics. Everyone hated her, but no one fought back. She built an iron grip over the board, a group of neighbors too timid or too dependent on her approval to resist. I watched in silence, taking mental notes. See, I wasn't just a resident. I'd recently been promoted to regional community manager at Crestline Property Services, the very company contracted to manage Pineview Ridge. My move here was supposed to be quiet, anonymous. I wanted to see how the place operated from the inside before stepping in professionally. But Karen didn't make that easy. Her first shot at me came about a month in. I received a notice taped to my front door. "Unapproved vehicle, remove immediately." It referred to my pickup truck. A personal vehicle, perfectly within HOA policy. But Karen didn't care about policy, she cared about control. When I approached her politely about it, she barely looked up from her clipboard. "Trucks aren't allowed overnight. They attract the wrong kind of people." "The bylaws don't say that," I replied evenly. She gave a tight smile. "I am the bylaws." It took everything in me not to laugh. Instead, I thanked her and walked away, knowing full well I'd deal with it later. But she wasn't done. Within days, I got fined for non-uniform mailbox color. Then for visible garden tools. Then for improper lighting. All fabricated. She was testing me, trying to see how far she could push before I broke. What she didn't know was that I wasn't like her usual victims. I wasn't the kind of man who reacted with anger or submission. I believed in documentation, timing, and precision. By the time her campaign reached its peak, I had every incident logged. Photos, dates, signatures, even witness statements from neighbors she'd bullied. And yet, I still waited. Because part of me wanted to see how far her arrogance would go. And oh, she went too far. It was late September when she crossed the line from nuisance to danger. I was watering my lawn when two police cruisers rolled into the cul-de-sac. Karen followed behind them like a parade leader, chin up, radiating satisfaction. I didn't know it yet, but that day would change everything, for both of us. Karen strutted up the driveway like she was marching into battle, waving her clipboard at the officers. "That's him," she declared. "That's the man I told you about." The officers looked between us, confused. "Ma'am, can you explain what's going on?" Karen huffed, her tone dripping with authority. "This resident has been repeatedly violating HOA codes, harassing me and other board members, and refusing to pay accumulated fines. He's been warned multiple times and is now trespassing on association property." One of the officers raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, are you saying he doesn't live here?" She folded her arms. "He forfeited his residency privileges through non-compliance. The HOA voted to suspend his rights. He needs to vacate immediately." I could barely contain my smile. This woman was unhinged. "Officers," I said calmly, "I own this property. It's fully paid off. There's no such thing as being evicted by an HOA without legal process." Karen glared at me like she couldn't believe I was daring to talk back. "Don't listen to him. He's been nothing but a problem since he moved in. He threatened me in emails." "That's a lie," I said, my voice still steady. "And if you check your inbox, you'll find no such thing. However, you will find several emails where I requested clarification on these supposed violations." None were answered. One of the officers turned to her. "Ma'am, do you have documentation of these threats?" She froze. "Well, not on me. But..." "Then maybe we should calm down and sort this civilly," the other officer said. Karen's face flushed deep red. "I am calm. He's the one." I took a step forward and handed the officer a folder. "Since we're on the topic of documentation, here's mine. Copies of every notice, every fine, and photos proving none of them were valid." The officers looked through the folder, visibly impressed. Karen tried to snatch it, but one of them stopped her. "Ma'am, please step back." Her voice trembled with fury. "You don't understand who I am. I'm the president of this community. And I'm your regional manager," I said finally. She blinked, confused. "What?" "I'm Daniel Ward," I continued, "producing my Crestline Property Services ID. Regional Community Manager. I oversee operations for all HOAs in this district, including Pineview Ridge." For a moment, she didn't breathe. Then her voice cracked. "You're lying." The officer handed her the ID, confirming it was legitimate. Her hands shook as she gave it back. I met her eyes. "For the past 6 weeks, I've been observing how this HOA operates. And from what I've seen, your leadership is riddled with violations, financial misconduct, abuse of authority, and intimidation of residents. You can't just." "I already did," I said quietly. "An audit's underway. Your board has been contacted. And as of this morning, you're temporarily suspended from all HOA duties pending investigation." The officers exchanged glances. One of them said gently, "Ma'am, it sounds like this is an internal matter. We're going to step away unless there's a criminal complaint." Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "But he can't do that." I smiled slightly. "You did it to yourself, Karen." As the cruisers pulled away, neighbors started stepping outside, drawn by the commotion. For the first time, no one looked afraid of her. They looked curious, hopeful, even. She tried to maintain her composure, muttering something about lawyers and defamation, but the panic in her eyes told the truth. Her little empire was cracking. That night, I received half a dozen emails from residents. Each one told a story: fines for absurd reasons, threats of foreclosure, intimidation during meetings. I compiled them all. The deeper I went, the uglier it became. She'd approved payments to her nephew's cleaning company for street maintenance. She'd funneled HOA funds into personal purchases, new furniture, office equipment, even a luxury spa membership listed under stress management. Every file, every receipt, every inconsistency, I archived it. By the time I was done, I had a report that could end her career for good. The following week, I called a special board meeting. As regional manager, I had the authority to conduct an internal review and demand attendance from all members. Karen showed up late, sunglasses on, pretending everything was fine. "Let's make this quick," she said, sitting at the head of the table like she still owned it. I nodded. "It will be." The board members looked uneasy. They'd all received my email summarizing the investigation. Most of them were nervous, realizing how complicit they'd been. I started with the basics: misuse of funds, lack of meeting transparency, violation of state HOA statutes. As I read each charge, Karen's smirk faded a little more. When I got to the financial audit, I projected her invoices on the screen: $4,300 to her cousin's landscaping company, $2,800 in office expenses, $1,200 on community engagement materials that turned out to be restaurant bills. Karen snapped. "You can't prove those were personal." I clicked to the next slide: photos of her own home, furnished with the same items purchased using HOA money. "Actually, we can." The room fell silent. One board member whispered, "Oh my God." Her voice shook with desperation. "You don't understand. I earned those benefits. Do you have any idea how much I've done for this neighborhood?" I met her gaze. "You did it for yourself, not for the community." By the end of the meeting, the board voted unanimously to remove her. The audit findings were sent to our legal department, and within a week, her HOA privileges were revoked permanently. The state's Homeowner Affairs Bureau was notified, and she faced potential charges for embezzlement and fraud. But the real justice came later, not from the paperwork, not from the fines, but from the quiet shift in Pineview Ridge itself. For the first time in years, people gathered without fear. Neighbors hosted barbecues, kids played in the cul-de-sac, and the air felt lighter. We held new elections, real ones this time, and filled the board with people who actually cared. Karen sold her house a month later. Rumor had it she tried to move to another HOA community, but once word got around, her application was denied. She disappeared after that. Sometimes I think about her, the woman who thought she could rule over everyone, who believed her clipboard made her untouchable. But all it took was the truth to bring her down. And the best part? I never raised my voice. I never broke a single rule. I just let her expose herself, one smug smile at a time. As I sit on my porch now, watching kids race their bikes and hearing laughter echo through the street, I realize something. Power built on fear never lasts. It collapses the moment it meets someone who doesn't play by its script. Karen thought she could control me. But she never realized I wrote the rules she tried to use against me.